cannot imagine the denizens of the Underdark take kindly to your chosen god or his tricks, says Bonebrow. You sigh. I do not choose Oher chose me. Ah yes, your calling, says Bonebrow, his head bowed, as though in prayer. One cannot ignore the call. That is right, they do not call it an asking. You joke, that's funny. My Bonebrow, you are religious for a soldier. My Bonebrow, you are religious for a soldier, says Kriya, her eyebrows drawing closer. Men of the sword that I have known make an occasional offering to the god of war and are done with it. You seem to have a true passion for the pantheon. Bonebrow straightens up. You think you sense some discomfort for the first time from him. It serves me as a leader of men to know a little about many things. Well, you needn't take so much interest in my fool, says Kriya. I only keep him near to amuse me on occasion, but his jokes do get tiresome. Bonebrow points over. What? Bonebrow points over your shoulder, apparently ignoring Kriya. Your bow, a curious weapon for the priest of Oher. Not wanting to be caught without an answer, you say the first thing that comes to you. I use it for trick shots and to mock other elves. Trick shots, really? Trick shots. Oh, that's a bad idea. I should like to see one, he says, suspicion in his voice. Of course, you do not know any trick shots. Certainly nothing you would attempt in a crowded town square. What do you say? Another time, I have been asked to keep my bow slung. That makes sense. It's actually less for trick shots and more for mocking. Yeah, let's go with that one. Another time, I have been asked to keep my bow slung, you say. By whom? Asks Bonebrow. One of the guards, you say. One of my guards? Bonebrow laughs. It's a cruel laugh. So bashful for a disciple of Oher. Am I not the captain of guards? I say you may unsling it and show me one of your divine trick shots. That's fucking stupid. Why the fuck would I shoot trick shots within the fucking within a fucking crowded area? It might hit someone. It's actually less for trick shots and more for mocking. You say, particularly to mock wood elves. Bonebrow laughs. Those tree savages deserve a good mocking. You join him in his laughter. When Bonebrow recovers, he says, nonetheless, you know how to use the bow, do you not? Enough to be as dangerous to a friend as an enemy, you say. Bonebrow grins, then just his chin up. I thought as much. You pixies are all pomp and flash. Avis frowns at Bonebrow as Bumin jaws drop. Watch your tongue, Captain, says Kriya. Bonebrow puts his hand up in surrender. Apologies. Bonebrow bows. Apologies for disturbing you. It is time to get back to my duties. Kriya raises her chin. You courtesy to him like a woman. What? Kriya raises her chin. You courtesy to him like a woman. Courtesy to him? Courtesy to him? I don't quite get that line. I really don't understand what this means. If Bonebrow is offended by a mockery, he doesn't show it on his face. He spins around and stalks off. Maybe it is time we allow Lyre and Jander to get back to their own duties in the service of House Hallowflame, you say to Kriya. Kriya frowns as though considering this. She then... Wait, see... You say to Kriya. I was like, she said that. Why is she frowning about it? Kriya frowns as though considering this. She then turns and waves at each of the servants. Thank your master for the service. As you command, they say in unison as they bow and back away. Again blinded by the sun, you wave to the blurry image of the pair. A pleasure meeting you both. Do take care. It was our pleasure to serve, they say in unison. You need to stop being so friendly, says Kriya. Shadow elves are aloof? What the fuck are shadow elves now? Is it just another name for like dark elves? I'm always friendly to those who are friendly to me, and those servants were helpful, you say. They were sent to gain favor for House Hallowflame and to spy on us, says Kriya. You didn't show gratitude. Nonetheless, I have gratitude that we are still alive, you say in a whisper. Do you think the impostor suspected us? Kriya bites her lip for a moment and then says, the priestess seems suspicious of you, which goes back to my point about your conduct. She was interested in me, but that was likely due to my tight leather trousers, you say. Women of Thog love me. I told you how the one kissed me in their temple. And then you slew her later, says Kriya. Don't expect me to recommend you to any of my friends. Wait, she has friends? It strikes you as odd that Kriya would bother to have any friends, let alone female ones. Nevertheless, you feel the need to defend your reputation. She tried to slay me first. She then took my face and was luring the real Bonebrow into. Kriya smiles as she waves a hand, gesturing for you to save your breath. We best guard our words. It is entirely possible that others can listen in on what we say. We live in a world of magic. Close your mouth. One thing I would ask you of, says Kriya, her voice dipping further. Why did you claim to be a priest of Ohar? You shake your head. Sometimes an absurdity is the most believable. She looks at you carefully. It satisfied her. It satisfied her? She looks at you carefully. It satisfied her. Even the Alethean acolytes appear to believe you. You shrug. Why not? They obviously sensed my innate magical power, yet my stunning good looks and toned physique could not belong to a wizard who squints at books and smear himself with bad guano on his daily routine. What the fuck is this? Wait, is he talking about like one of those witches that make like brews in big ass pots, like throwing bat eyes in it? I think that's what he's referencing, I suppose. A priest of a trickery god is a perfect explanation. I am not what I appear. Priya is silent for a moment, watching you, then finally says, indeed. Hoping to move on from the subject, you grin at her, then pretend to be scanning the crowd. Okay, the grin was kind of weird, but okay. It is almost noon before the procession finally moves towards the gate to leave the outer ring for the middle ring. Blessedly, dark rain clouds have moved in, and you cannot see well enough. You can see well enough to not bumble into people in the jostling line through the gate. There are a pair of mages of Red Hound Guild in front of you. The guild has a branch in your home city, and you know their crimson robes. You do not want to bump into one of them. Their order is known to be vindictive and fond of curses. Technically we should also be the cursing person, considering we are dark elves. A cat saunters closely behind one of the mages, his tail high, a familiar, you suppose. Egra, is one of those mages a priestess of Thog, you ask? You remember Bonebrow had suspected that the mage of his party was replaced by a doppelganger. There is a pause before Egra speaks. I do not get that sense, however it may be hidden. For now I shall be hidden, and you must not think of me as you pass the gate. Do your best to clear away your thoughts, to think of nothing. Thinking of absolutely nothing. Like, there's such a big difference between Narissa and Kriya. Like, it's fascinating. The difference is so fucking huge. Like, Narissa was not, like one of those, like, she was not like a weak woman or like, all upon you type shit. She was nothing like that. She was very strong, much stronger than us. Well, technically we were the god slayers, so I guess we technically are stronger than her. But what I meant, like, she was very strong and, had the desire to move forward, and that was something I really liked about her. And at the end it felt worth it to be with her, because the whole situation felt right, with like both parties being fairly worthy of each other and understanding each other. I will say, as I've said before, Wizard's Choice ending, which I am not going to discuss, seemed a bit rushed at the end. It was just kind of just ended out of nowhere. I expected a bit more, but somehow it just kind of just ended. But regardless, let's move on. I also would prefer if they make like a separate chapter with a couple of images, if they just show like their regular lives after the whole story ends. But maybe we'll find about the God Slayer in this one. You do your best to clear away your thoughts, to think of nothing. Thinking of absolutely nothing proves difficult, so you focus on the feeling of breeze on your face. Your concentration is broken as the guards of the gate come into view. You cannot help but observe them. The guards give most people in the ceremony parade only a cursory glance, yet they watch you and Kriya closely. As you draw near, one guard whispers something to another, and the second guard shouts a word you do not understand. Do not make any sudden movements, warns Kriya in a whisper. Walk steadily. One of the unseen beasts, you wonder. Yeah, I do remember reading. It's been a day or two since I last recorded. One of the unseen beasts. I do remember talking about some invisible enemy, but I don't remember why I was talking about an invisible enemy. So yeah, you wonder. Maybe Egra would know. Oh right, the unseen beast. The woman was talking about it. The servant woman. Right? You wonder. Maybe Agra would know, but she continues to be silent. You think you feel something near and hear a sniffing sound. On the other hand, that could be your suggestive mind playing tricks on you. Straighten your back and do your best to ignore the guards and everything else, as though everything in this quaint little city was beneath your regard. Next thing you know, you're in the middle ring. You see the sign of the Green Dragon Inn. Is less than a block away. You cannot help but wonder where you would be and what you would be doing if you had not walked into that place for a drink only a few days ago. Maybe dead. Mayhaps dead. You needed the coin you scrounged there to pay house ruder here, with only hours to go before the deadline. You do your best to match the steps of Kriya, who is strutting beside you. Residents line the streets and cheer the parade as it passes by them. New participants join as the beginning or end of the line. Joining at the beginning or end of the line. Okay. Many of them are merchants, as evidenced by the emblems of their guilds sewn into the hats and tunics. Like in the outer ring, all participants have chosen their finest clothing. One woman has so many outrageous feathers sewn into her dress that for a moment you mistake her. I think it should be mistook her. For a moment you mistook her for a monstrous bird. I'm not sure, but I think it should be mistook. A group of 13 dwarves join the beginning of the line. There are also at least a dozen wood elves now. Wood elves, you suppose. They stare at you with mixture of shock and anger as they pass by to take their place in the procession. Halflings are sprinkled along the merchant guilds. Are halflings like Frodo from Lord of the Rings? You don't see the puppet master, but you suppose she's around somewhere. The parade slows down and then stops. The line snakes to the right up ahead into what must be the town square of the middle ring. Your heart leaps into your chest for a moment as a giant steps slowly into view, approaching the head of the parade. It is actually a giantess, as is immediately obvious by her nude body. Wait, hold on. Wait, what the fuck? So they went into the middle ring. Everyone was like dressed up or dappered up, and then a giant steps up. Is that part of the proceeding? I think it's a part of the proceeding. Your heart leaps into your chest for a moment as a giant steps slowly into view, approaching the head of the parade. It is actually a giantess. It is immediately obvious by her nude body. She stands at least two men tall. Her face is slack, as though resigned to her fate of being the parade's most conspicuous freak. She halts before the priest at the front of the line. It's kind of fascinating that they didn't go into detail about how her face was. They did say that her face was unfortunate, but her face is slack, as though resigned to her fate. But like, what about her body though? Like, does she have a fucking dump truck? Does she got the boobs of the gods? I wonder about that. I'm fascinated that they didn't talk about it. Usually whenever anything to do with a female character, they're going to insane detail as to how they are, like how their figure is, but for some reason we're not talking about this one. The priest of Hayden, god of wealth, steps up to the giantess. He raises his hand in the air, chants in a language you do not understand. A young man in the robes of some gods you do not know comes forward, cupping a large silver bowl in front of him. The Hayden priest dips his finger into the bowl, and his finger drip red like blood, as he then begins drawing runes on the stomach of the giantess with his finger. One after the other, priests and priestesses from the front of the parade take their turn, chanting in their own way and drawing their own symbols on the blue-hued skin of the giantess. Oh, it's a blue giant. Okay, interesting. Gods, this is a rather unusual ceremony. You whisper to Kriya. What do those symbols mean? I cannot read most of them. However, I gather their prayers to gods. She replies, luck and strength for the child to be born. How long will this take? Do they mean to cover that poor beast from head to toe? You say. Kriya puts her finger to her lips to shush you. Are you still pleased to be on this quest? You taunt Agra in your mind. So much for staying away from rival gods. What do you think? Should I draw something on that giantess on your behalf? To your surprise, Agra bubbles up out of hiding to respond. This particular ceremony does not interest my father. However, you should be careful what ideas you offer him. Okay. My life increased for some reason. Eventually the priest finished the ceremony and the parade again surges forward, although everyone remains silent. Soon you see that the line of pairs split into two lines of What? Soon you see the lines of pairs splits into two lines of single file around the stationary giantess. What does that mean? Soon you see the line of pairs splits into two lines of single file. I don't get it. Is it like double circling around the giantess? Is that it?